going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown, Oregon.
Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at the University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row.
Oregon is headed to the Super Regional. Big Ten champions, your Oregon Ducks.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
A Wednesday inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano with you on a double Oregon Athletics game day over at Pape Field. Oregon Lacrosse will start up their Big Ten season. The Big Ten opener for Oregon Lacrosse against Ohio State at 5 o'clock tonight. Jess Drummond on the program today previewing that matchup against the Buckeyes over at Pape Field. We'll also hear from Coach Wazakowski after Oregon baseball dropped game one of a two-game midweek series against Grand Canyon by a score of 4-2 last night. So we'll hear from Jess Drummond. We'll hear from Waz. Also, Oregon men's basketball. They will be in action early tomorrow morning. 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip-off on the Oregon Sports Network in the morning to start off the Big Ten tournament against Indiana. Joey Mack will be on the call, hoping Luke Jackson will get to Indianapolis to join him for the Big Ten tournament. Ducks against Hoosiers in round one, an opponent that Oregon saw, well, a little bit more than a week ago in Matthew Knight Arena. Ducks are going to have to continue some winning ways. The Ducks taking a 7-game win streak in. And earlier today, I was able to catch up with Joey Mack, breaking down the matchup, reviewing the end of the regular season, previewing what's upcoming for Oregon men's basketball. Let's quickly get to the conversation with, well, me and Joey. Joey Mack joining us from the road in his hotel room in Indianapolis. Joey Mack is with us. Joey? Just first off, how are you? You look great today. The hotel room looks awesome. What's going on in Indy?
Well, as we're talking, the Ducks just practiced at the home of the Tech Titans, which was one of the better high school names that I've heard in a while, the Tech Titans. It's where Trey Lyles played, actually, a 2014 McDonald's All-American. And I'll tell you what, they love their basketball in Indiana. A lot of these high schools where the Ducks and others are practicing are sizable gymnasiums, to put it mildly. But to be honest, the Ducks, I think, are just ready to roll. I mean, I talked with Coach Altman a little today, and he was like, I know some people are just excited about the NCAA tournament, but he goes, I like the conference tournaments. I'm a fan of the conference tournaments. And to be honest, I am too. I think that whenever you see all the different fan bases roaming around, and this is the first time in this Big Ten tournament that I've experienced it, I think that it just makes for a fun environment. And that's sort of what we're all gearing up for. I mean, some games today, the Ducks would have to win 4. They've done that in the Pac-12 era. Ducks would have to win 4 to win the tournament. But you can't talk about winning the tournament unless you beat Indiana in the opening game tomorrow.
I have a few follow-ups on that. But Tech, there's nothing before the Tech. It's just Tech. Because, I mean, you see a lot of universities that have like a something Tech at the end of it. It's just Tech.
Well, so the Tech Titan is the mascot. Isn't that cool? Like, you don't hear that very often, that it's the Tech Titan. Not just the Titans. It is the Tech Titans. Arsenal Tech High School is where we practice. So Arsenal's the high school. It was actually an old Civil War fort, we found out, which was kind of interesting. And then the Tech Titans. Not just the Titans, the Tech Titans.
That's very fun. A great broadcast nugget for you. Talking about conference tournaments, Oregon's had a lot of success in recent conference tournaments in the Pac-12 era. How much is the build-up to this conference tournament similar to what Oregon went through throughout the Pac-12 era of men's basketball conference tournaments?
More teams to scout. I mean, there's 15, right, in this tournament, so 3 don't make it in this large conference era that we're in now. But the operation feels very similar. I mean, in the Pac-12 tournament, I was not calling the games yet when it was still in Los Angeles for some period of time. I've only ever done Pac-12 tournaments in Las Vegas, and it's kind of similar where in downtown Indianapolis, everything's right around Gainbridge Fieldhouse where the Pacers played. And the Pacers played last night. So we kind of saw like, okay, what's the traffic flow? What are fans doing? And it's fun. I mean, it is a very similar buildup. Everyone's kind of right around the same geographic area. I mean, there's other teams that you see busing over today and practicing. And the buildup's very similar, to be honest with you. It has a different feel, obviously not being in Las Vegas, but it is similar.
Going throughout the tournaments under Coach Altman, we've said it on this show so many times, no one has more success after Valentine's Day, no one has more success in the month of March than a Coach Altman coached team. What is the energy? Does the energy change around a program going into this month, into postseason play? Because you've been around the team for multiple years now. Is it a different level of intensity, locked-inness with the program, or is it just everything seems to kind of click at the right times down at these portions of the year?
I've talked to Coach Altman about that. Like, hey, he's won so many games. Like, what does it take to be successful in these tournaments? And ultimately, it is kind of wild to think about that nothing does really change for him. Like, practice was very similar. It's still a scout one game at a time. The difference is that you don't have a lot of time to rest between games. But in terms of the energy and the buildup leading up to it, no, it is just kind of like another road trip, admittedly. And Coach would say like, well, there's no magic key. Every team's a little different. And certainly that's true to an extent, but like, also, isn't that part of the magic, right? Like Coach Altman is just so consistent in how he goes about things and keeping the narrative for the team so similar. I think that's part of his magic formula, to say the least.
Going into postseason play, but we haven't talked to you after the overtime win in Washington to close out the regular season against the Huskies. Just overall assessment of Oregon in that game, how the Ducks were able to battle from giving up a lead early and then hold on to an overtime victory to close out the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the takeaways have been kind of consistent, that Oregon has been a little inconsistent defensively and in games where the shot doesn't fall, and the Ducks didn't hit a whole lot of threes in that game. Took, a while to really get one. And I actually thought the key shot in that game was when Nate Biddle hit a three over the top of a closing out Frank Kepnong. That's a pretty big arm that's coming at you from that three that he hit, or I should say defending that three that he hit from the left wing. I felt like that was a critical moment, but my big takeaway is that Oregon has been so good at the free throw line this year. It's kind of one of those things you don't talk about unless you miss some critical ones. And the truth is, I mean, KJ Evans did miss some critical ones when it was tied at 68, gave Washington an opportunity to win it in regulation. But KJ then played good defense at the other end, and the Ducks ended up closing out the game with free throws as the game progressed and in overtime. And so to me, that was sort of the like, you know what, you do just find a way to win in the month of March. And the Ducks had to do that in a rivalry game on the road. I mean, all these different things. They want to be more consistent. They want to rebound better. I mean, yeah, do you not want to turn the ball over as often as the Ducks did in that game? I think that's a huge key in a conference tournament. You got to have every possession matter. It's been some of the same takeaways, but the truth is that it's a team now that has demonstrated they'll win in different ways. And I'm sure the blood pressure for the coaching staff gets a little high. It does for the broadcaster during that time. But for me, the free throw shooting, I think, in the postseason is going to be really critical. And, the good and the bad, for sure.
Put into perspective for me Nate Biddle's performance against Washington, because it's not very often you get 36 and 12 the way Nate Biddle did. Just in the hierarchy and pantheon of the games that you've been calling with Oregon, where does that individual regular season performance for Nate Biddle stack up, what he did against Washington to close out the regular season?
Well, in a regular season, I think it's one of the best that we've seen in the last decade at least. I mean, the last guy to score that many points in a game was Jermaine Couisnard, and he did it in those NCAA tournament games that are just going to be remembered as some of the best individual postseason performances that we've seen, even though the Ducks ended up losing that game to Creighton. But I mean, Jermaine was a couple points shy, 3 points shy of the program record for points when he scored 40 against South Carolina. Greg Ballard's got the record with 43, and Nate was closing in on that. He really was. Nate was closing in on that. So, I guess to put it this way, our analyst on the Oregon Sports Network, Luke Jackson, was the last guy that had a 30-point double-double. And that was, now 2 decades ago. And the only guys in Oregon history since at least 96 that have done that are Nate Biddle and Luke Jackson. Luke Jackson's one of the best players this program's ever seen, and it's not a debate that he's even on that list, right? So I thought it was one of the best performances ever. I mean, and he did it in different ways, right? Like, yeah, he hit free throws. Yeah, he hit some critical threes, but man, like early in games, like think about this. He'll just hit that short corner jumper very early in games. And how many times have I looked at Luke and Luke will just say, well, that's a good sign for the Ducks early. And that's kind of what Nate Biddle has been doing lately. And in that Washington game, man, just everything worked. He has earned being a finalist for the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award. Bar none. He is one of the best 5 centers in the country. Not even a debate. I think he has a good chance to win the thing. I mean, he was all big third team, and I know there's another guy who's on that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar list as well, but I just think, man, he is just doing something special with his block shots and with his ability to score. And then people, I think, underestimate the rebounding, to say the least.
And what you didn't mention even about Nate Biddle in that point is his game down low, his bruising game, where he can also have the footwork on the block to score on the interior like a traditional 5 would. You don't see that be able to stretch out ability and also be able to score from all 3 levels of the floor like Nate Biddle can. And you mentioned his rebounding. Oregon in that game against Washington also was able to rebound at a tremendous rate with KJ Evans. Didn't have the free throw performance, but multiple double-doubles in the game. And KJ Evans' surgence has been such a vital key for Oregon throughout this 7-game win streak. It really has been a flip of the switch for his season from coming off of that 5-game losing streak for Oregon right into this 7-game win streak. KJ Evans has proven to be a vital factor for the Ducks.
No doubt about it. I mean, I'm not sure Oregon wins 7 straight if he doesn't have the sort of performance that he's had the last few weeks. And, it's interesting, like, so Oregon loses those 3, or I should say Oregon loses those 5 games in a row, but the 3 of them were when the Ducks were just not playing well, as Coach Altman continues to reference. Well, then they go to the Michigan schools, 2 top 25 teams, right? And they end up losing those 2 games, but KJ Evans better in his games. Remember, the narrative from Coach Altman was just play better. That's all that needs to be done. Just play better. And I remember thinking, like, okay, if KJ Evans plays like he did a couple times against Michigan, and in that first half, especially against Michigan State, like he's finishing around the basket, he's rebounding at a high clip. And I asked him that during the then 7-game winning streak, and he said, my entire focus now is just rebound the ball. Like, that's been his mentality. And boy, what a difference it's made, right? I mean, I think that there's still so much unrealized potential with his shooting and his 3-point shooting. He's a great free throw shooter in his career, right around 80%. He was well over 80% last year. And then to take it a step forward, if he finishes around the basket at a higher percentage, boy, that's that extra threat that the Ducks could really use. And I should say, Ryan, like you referenced, the ability to play the bruiser ball that Nate Biddle can do now. That's because of N'Faly Dante. That's because of Supreme Cook. And that's now because of KJ Evans playing that physical type of basketball. And I think it's helped both KJ Evans and Nate Biddle over the years in terms of getting better and more consistent in that way. I'm impressed to put it mildly with what KJ Evans has done. And I've asked Coach about this, like, where has he grown? And Coach is like, man, it is a huge jump, and he has been playing so well in now the 7-game winning streak. Really, the last 9 games, KJ Evans has been playing much better. His efficiency numbers especially have about doubled in that span, just in terms of his efficiency, right? And his plus minus has been much better. It's been really impressive. And I think it all comes back to that rebound. I mean, you and I were even exchanging notes on this, that he was grading out as one of the better defensive efficiency boosters to any team in the country. And And I think that's the rebounding, right? Like the rebound number is so strong for him that it makes the team's defensive efficiency so much better.
Joey Mack breaking down the upcoming Big Ten tournament for Oregon starting tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time against Indiana. Part 2 of the conversation continuing to preview the Big Ten tournament. Coming up next on Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
Put your phone on D&D, that means the do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D, that means the do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, Honey Bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano with you in the 1 o'clock hour on Facebook. Dave Bowden asks, how high of a seed do you think the Ducks could get in March Madness? I think if everything goes right in the Big Ten tournament, Oregon makes a run all the way to the championship game, the Ducks could get maybe as high as a 4 seed. I think more realistically for Oregon, it's probably going to be a 5 or a 6 seed for the Ducks, as low as a 7 seed. I've seen some prognosticators having Oregon in that 5 to 7 range for the March Madness tournament upcoming in the NCAAs. But I do think a lot of that late season positioning is going to come down to what Oregon does in the Big Ten tournament. And on YouTube, Frost asks, which player do you think will be very important against Indiana? I think TJ Bamba is going to be very important. His defensive intensity has really elevated over the last few weeks. He's starting to knock down some shots from the perimeter. TJ Bamba, I think, can be a big X factor for Oregon moving forward. Joey Mack and we talked about how TJ Bamba's increased defensive intensity has helped Oregon, along with many more players and things, previewing the Big Ten tournament that starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow against Indiana. Part 2 of the conversation with Joey Mack. Joey Mack with us. Oregon against Indiana in the Big Ten tournament starting tomorrow at 9 a.m., 8:30 pregame. And Oregon is bringing in 2 All-Big Ten players and 2 All-Big Ten defensive teamers. We mentioned Nate Biddle, but also Jackson Shellstead. I think there's got to be some level of quantification of the clutch ability for Jackson Shellstead. Sure, season averages are one thing, and that earns him All-Big Ten honors, but the clutch shot meter. I don't know how you measure it, but for Jackson Shellstad, I think you'd be all first team Big Ten just in who do you need the ball in your hand to make the shot at the right time. It's been Jackson Shellstad time after time after time back to his freshman season, and it's continued as he's really taken hold of the reins here in his sophomore year.
Well, and that's why he was on my all Big Ten ballot. Honestly, he was on mine, and the coaches named him a third teamer. The media didn't, and I thought that was interesting that no West Coast players were on the media's all Big Ten list, but there were a couple Ducks on that coach's list, and I think that tells you how impressive he's been because of what you just described, those clutch plays. And basketball, you can talk about, well, how do you measure the clutch factor across sports? And I think in basketball, it's close wins. It's how many games do you win that are decided by one possession. And then I think it's how many game tying or game winning shots you hit. And the fact is, he has hit pretty much every one he's taken in his career. When you really start to think back, you mentioned like freshman year, he took that Michigan one that kind of put him on the map in that non-conference game early in the season last year. And every shot that he seems to take in a clutch moment, it goes in. It's funny. I was kind of joking with everyone after he hit the one against Wisconsin, and I just was like, I shouldn't ever sound surprised on a broadcast anymore when he hits a shot like that, right? Like I shouldn't ever be surprised because it's just become the norm that he hits them, and he hits them from deep, right? He hits them from long range. I think that the coaches saw that. And also in Big Ten conference games, he was top 3 in three-point shooting percentage. So his overall number wasn't in the top 10 of the league's three-point shooting percentage. But in conference games, he was one of the best, and he was over 40% from 3 in conference games. I think that's a huge deal. There's a lot of debate of, when you're picking an all-conference team, do you only look at conference statistics versus overall statistics? And I'm someone that looks at both. I think that if the baseball analogy, right, is like if you hit 10 of your 12 home runs in non-conference games and you bat 200 in conference games, but you hit 350 overall, like, are you an all-conference player when you didn't perform against the conference competition? That informs my voting on that, I guess, for lack of a better descriptor. And so in this case, I thought he was better against Big Ten opponents. He got better as the season went, and man, watch, he'll hit one here in the postseason, and people still sound surprised. I'll still sound surprised because it's just, oh, he hit it! What a moment! But the truth is, it should really just be, oh, he hit another one.
I'm glad you bring that up, and I'm glad you bring up how he started the season, because that was one of the knocks on Jackson Shellstad coming into conference play was he didn't have that same production that he did to end last season. And players who get better throughout conference play, it's not easy to do, especially when you play in the conference as difficult as the Big Ten. And there are so many parallels between him and Peyton Pritchard just because of where they grew up. They're both going to Oregon, both local kids. But some of the shots he's hitting, Peyton Pritchard has developed this reputation in the NBA of being a half-court shooter late in games. That's what Jackson Shellstad's starting to do, and it's not just the shot against Wisconsin. He hit one against Indiana. He might have hit one against Iowa. Who knows? The rest didn't call it, but it feels like every single opportunity. You're right, Joey. He comes up in the big spots, and I don't want to put the Peyton Pritchard on Jackson Shellstad because they're different players, but there are so many parallels.
Well, and that's the truth, right? Like, look, you, me, Scott, broadcasters, the media, whatever, we are narrative generators, for better or worse, right? Well, but here's the truth. The parallels are there. I mean, same high school, both Oregonians, both go to Oregon, both hit critical shots early in their career. Look, it's not trying to drive home an unfair narrative when the parallels are simply true. And I think that's more than anything, it's a compliment of what Jackson has done in his sophomore season and in the 2 years that he's been playing. I mean, so here's the thing. Last year, Jermaine Couisnard and N'Faly Dante down the stretch, I mean, it was just, who's going to be Batman today, right? Like, they both were just so effective. And they both wanted it so bad senior year. I mean, all those different, again, narrative things, right? But I think real things. Well, then this year it has been more Jackson Shellstad's team, and he's really grown into that role. And I mean, look, if you want to make another parallel, we're in March. March Madness is real. Peyton Pritchard didn't start early in that season when the Ducks went to the Final Four. He ends up replacing Casey Benson in the starting lineup. The Ducks make their run to the Final Four, and Peyton wasn't necessarily the go-to guy in those games. He was a lower person on the totem pole to take the final shot, right? Then end of his sophomore year, oh boy, started hitting every one of those shots that he took. Down the stretch, even though the Ducks went to the NIT that year, he started to settle in a little more. And then his junior year, the Ducks won 10 straight, all the way to the Sweet 16 before losing to Virginia, who won the national championship that year. He hit big shots down the stretch all the time. And I think Jackson Shellstad's kind of similar, where, look, there's the whole phrase of the sophomore slump, right? I think in both of their cases, the sophomore slump didn't last the whole sophomore season. And they both got better at the end of their sophomore seasons. And Peyton really got better at the end of his junior season. Then his senior season, he was one of the best players in the country. There was no doubt about it. And now that's why we're seeing his work ethic has paid off. You mentioned the half-court shots that he hits in the NBA. I mean, it's amazing to see what he's doing for Boston. But I think for Jackson, that the comparisons are real. Whether it's fair or not, they're there. And so far, they've been positive comparisons.
There's a level of confidence you're talking about offensively for Jackson Shellstad, defensively for TJ Bomba. We got to mention him, all Big Ten defensive team along with Nate Biddle. His job on the perimeter with Nate's job on the interior makes it really difficult for opponents to get into consistent offense, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it's fresh on my mind because the Ducks are going to play Galloway again for Indiana, but Galloway tries to get away from him up top late in that game in Eugene, and TJ spins him back around 6 times at the top of the key, and then he flexes, and that's the pride that he has in his defense. And I've talked to him about that a couple times. Like it really is what he's all about is getting after it defensively. And then, I asked Coach even today about TJ and getting on the all defensive team and how big of a deal that is. And Coach just said it. Look, his offense had struggled, and then down the stretch, he has gone all in on defense, and similar to KJ Evans, he goes all in on rebounding. TJ Bomba goes all in on defense, and look at what it's done for the Ducks. And Oregon defensively, I think, can give teams real problems. And it's because he can defend around the perimeter and fight the dribble so well, really lock a guy down. That's kind of what he did to John Tonje down the stretch against Wisconsin. That was a unanimous all Big Ten first teamer in John Tonje. And he locked him down the stretch. I thought that was, I know we're going to talk about Oregon's offense, but I thought down the stretch, that was the difference in that game, that TJ Bomba did not let John Tonje beat the Ducks. And so just as KJ Evans has really invested in rebounding and focused on that, TJ Bomba has really focused on his defense. He's one of the best in the conference in forcing turnovers. And if he stays out of foul trouble, that's a big weapon on the floor for the Ducks.
Look out. Joey Mack with us. Joey Mack, Luke Jackson, pregame show starting at 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock tip-off to start off the Big Ten tournament. Have you talked to Luke about what his keys to the game are going to be?
Well, actually, we're hoping that Luke gets here. He had a bit of a family situation, so he did not make the trip out with us yesterday. So
Joey Mack on the Oregon Sports Network, hopefully with Luke Jackson. Oregon
makes me sound a heck of a lot better, that's for sure.
Well, don't I know it. But going up against Indiana at 9 o'clock in the morning. Joey, hey, thanks for joining us from the road. Best of luck. Get a win. I'll talk to the people at this time tomorrow on Duck Insider, hopefully breaking down an Oregon victory.
Thank you, Ryan. Good luck with baseball.
Joey Mack discussing the Indiana game in the Big Ten tournament for Oregon coming up at 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, hoping that Luke Jackson can get to Indianapolis for Oregon's Big Ten tournament run as they march their way through the conference tournament into now postseason play under Dana Altman. Ducks have been successful under Coach Altman in postseason play. Big Ten's tournament starting for Oregon basketball. Big Ten conference play starting for Oregon lacrosse. Tonight, 5 o'clock at Pape Field. Jess Drummond joins us next on Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial.
Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Duck Insider continues from the Country Financial Studios in 1 minute on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Ma, is this how you feed a hamster?
I think so.
Is my homework right?
I think so.
Is, this milk still good?
I think so.
When it comes to parenting, sometimes it's okay to think you know. But when it's something as important as your child's car seat, don't just think. Know. Double check if your child is in the right seat for their age and size. It'll help protect them in a car crash. Don't just think. Know by visiting nhtsa.gov/the right seat. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano with Oregon lacrosse head coach Jess Drummond, closing out the non-conference. Jess Drummond, basically halfway through the season. Just how are you?
Great. Excited.
Good.
Big Ten's coming up.
Big Ten tonight. The Big Ten home opener tonight at 5 o'clock against Ohio State. It really is the midway portion in the season. Do you grade, like, non-conference season is one thing and then conference season is a different thing? Is that how you look at it, or is it all just one coagulation?
I think of it as like a progression.
So
not like
building.
first half, second half. Yeah. Whatever we kind of do continues to prep us for the next game.
So in the theme of building up to conference play, how do you feel like your team has built up to conference play through this point? What have you learned from your team in the non-conference?
Yeah, I think going off of that win against San Diego was huge with our confidence and knowing that never rule us out of a game. We could be down 6 and come back and still get that win. I think that's a great confidence booster for our team to keep fighting and know that we can still work hard and get it done.
So take me into that game, because we haven't had you on the show since. It was on Thursday. So talk about the game against San Diego State. First off, you get down early. All of a sudden, you look up at the scoreboard. It's a 6-goal deficit. Like, what's going through the minds of the team? What's happening on the sideline when you're down by 6 that early?
Yeah, as coaches, we have to make a change. And so that was kind of the point where we put in a new goalie. We made some subs on both offense and defense. And we just made a change going into that second quarter. We switched up our defense. And so, you have to be able to make those kind of adjustments in a game as a coach and trust it. And it worked out for the best. And Kate went in net and made a ton of amazing saves right away. That kind of sparked our team, getting that, competitive, fired up hype on our side to be able to keep chipping away.
I want to talk about those coaching adjustments, because you work throughout the week. There's obviously so much coaching done in terms of film study and tape and preparation into a game, but there's also X's and O's that go on during the actual course of play. What is your, I guess, favorite aspect of coaching? Is it the build-up to the game, or is it the chess match within a game?
Oh, that's a great question. I like a little bit of both. I think the preparation going into the game to always kind of have stuff in your back pocket of be able to play that chess on that game day. I think you can't play that chess match unless you have other things that we've worked on beforehand to go to implement it right away.
So you came in with a plan A against San Diego State, didn't work, and then you said, okay, easy audible, plan B, we're ready for this.
Yes, definitely.
So in terms of that plan B, bringing in Kate Shields into net, a very productive weekend for her. Took home the Big Ten Freshman of the Week. Congratulations to Kate Shields.
So awesome.
Just the adjustment, and then for her to have such a productive game in net. What did you see from her in terms of her preparation coming in to be ready for that moment, and then when she got the opportunity?
Totally. We talk a lot about just always being ready. You never know when your shot's going to be given to you, and I think it's great for the goalies. We talk a lot about how they've just continued to be so competitive. They continue to be so locked in and focused, so we knew right away whoever we put in net was going to be ready to go.
It worked for the most part in the first half. We're down 6, but you still went into the locker room down 5. So the second quarter adjustment was there, but was there even more of an adjustment at halftime once you got into the locker room?
Yes.
Was there a secondary adjustment to the adjustment?
No, we just kind of, kept talking about what the adjustment was going into the second quarter and knowing that there's so much game left and just chip away one at a time. We switched up the draw person going in, and Christiana did such a great job being able to place that ball away from their draw team. That really set us apart too in that second half. I don't know exactly what the draw count was, but we were up a lot, and then they started to chip away, and then we kind of carried that away in the second half, winning that draw control. So putting that ball on our stick and limiting their opportunities on offense was huge for us.
Take me into a halftime when you're down. Who are the voices inside of the locker room? Is it you? Is it the players? Is it the assistant coaches? A combination of everybody?
Yeah,
Who are the voices?
Sure, yeah. We let them have their first 5 minutes. That's the whole team without coaches, regrouping, refocus, letting them have that opportunity to talk with each other. And then we come in about halfway. And then, I let Theo and Cece kind of break down offense, defense. I add my little 2 cents and then a little motivation to get them fired up and get ready to go for the second half.
Who is the translator between what the team said when the coaches are talking outside of the locker room, and then who combines the two conversations?
I let them do their thing. To me, it's I love that they have that opportunity to be just with each other, whatever they need to get fired up and focused as a team. And then when the coaches come in, we're more, the strategy, the implementing the game plan, refocusing and getting their mind right on what we need to be doing X's and O's wise.
It clearly worked, because at some point in the second half, you were down 12-7, then a 7-goal run to go up 14-12. Just the momentum during that sequence. Can you feel the energy building on the sideline?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And that, again, it goes into, I know we made the changes in second quarter, but it just is that chip away, that believing in the process, trusting that it's going to work, and you just see it happening on the field, and the team fully understanding why we made those changes, that the changes are happening, and having that confidence in themselves that it's working.
How big is momentum a factor in lacrosse? Because some sports momentum is bigger than others. In lacrosse, can you quantify how big momentum is?
I would say it's so a part of our game. A team can go on a run, and that's going to be what's happening in those 5 minutes, but it's just, you get that pause, that reset. That's why you have timeouts. The media timeouts are great. Being able to reset each quarter and going back into it of knowing that there's going to be teams that are going to go on runs, but it's how we respond and answer back and limit those runs moving forward.
Offensive standout, Brie Carasquillo.
Yes.
Again, 6 goals. Very productive day for her on the field. Just what did you see from her? How was she able to produce offensively?
Yeah, she has such a good stick. She's able to handle any kind of pass thrown her way. She's so good at catching and finishing her shot. She just is a calm, collective presence on that field, which is what we love to see. And anyone who's kind of just staying in that kind of even keel mode, I trust so much of being able to get the job done.
So you go through a game where adjustments have to be made in the middle of it. How many of those adjustments carry over now to the next game, or how much of it is all right, reset, now we have a different game plan going into the next opponent?
Probably a little bit of both. Going into Big Ten, we've got to be a little bit more strategic and knowing that they're another team that's going to have a bunch in their back pocket too of plan A, B through C, whatever. So I think, same kind of game plan. We go in, we scout them, we know what their tendencies are. We got to try to limit those and then be able to make adjustments in the game as well.
Team mentality from a confidence standpoint. A lot of the wins early came in dominant fashion. Now a different way to win. How much confidence does that build for your team, knowing that it doesn't just have to be a lead from start to finish type of victory? we have the ability to come back and win too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that's huge, especially going into Big Ten of, these games are going to be challenging. It's going to be some of the harder teams that we've faced all season. So just having that belief in us and knowing that if the scoreboard is not in our favor, if we don't let our heads hang, like we're good. We still got this and to stay in it.
Talking about Big Ten, the Big Ten season starts tonight at Pape Field at 5 o'clock against Oregon State. Oregon women's lacrosse coach Jess Drummond with us. Just preview the entire conference. It's a different conference you're stepping into. Just the Big Ten as a whole, how does it differ from what Oregon's gone through in the past?
In the sense that it's just like the most elite conference, the highest caliber of lacrosse that we'll be facing in the country. So, we've got at least each team in there, minus a couple, are in the top 10. That's huge for us. And facing Ohio State, I think they're ranked top 25 too. So, just facing the two best teams in the country is super exciting for us. Our only option is to accept the challenge and rise up.
How much preparation went in throughout the course of the off-season leading up to the season, knowing that this is a really talented conference that Oregon is stepping into? We got to be ready to compete at the top of the national lacrosse landscape.
Yeah, we talk more about ourselves, and I think it's exciting to be in the Big Ten. But for us, I just always want us to focus on ourselves, not the outside noise, not the hype of, we're playing like Ohio State today. It's more about us and proving who we are as Oregon lacrosse versus like who we're going up against.
Okay, with that being said, playing Oregon lacrosse, focus on Oregon lacrosse, but the scouting report on Ohio State.
What about it?
What do they do? Just tell fans, what are you expecting to see from the opponents? What do you have to account for with Ohio State?
Yeah, I think they play similar to us. They're a gritty, physical team. They've got that experience playing in Big Ten, so I think they already know kind of how to show up on game day and playing a consistent 60 minutes. So I think it's us of just, again, like continue to believe. And, if they get up by one, like that's totally fine. We could still claw our way back and stay in that game. It's going to be a back-and-forth battle for sure.
So the keys for Oregon's success to get a win to start off Big Ten play, start 1-0 in conference is what?
We talked about being relentless on that field, being the grittier team, fighting for all those ground balls, sticking together and being a family on that field, and just being consistent for a full 60 minutes.
Being consistent, starting off Big Ten play. What else do fans need to know before they pour into Pape Field to start off conference play at 5 o'clock today?
Be loud. Be loud for us. That's my big request of the audience, of being just so hype. I heard Ohio's traveling with a lot of people, so I'm like, Ducks fans, let's show up.
Show up at Pape Field tonight, 5 o'clock, starting the Big Ten. I'm excited for it. Are you excited for it?
Me too. Cannot wait.
Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go. Starting off conference play. Jess, what else you got for us? Anything?
That's it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, stepping aside, continuing to preview lacrosse as well as more on Duck Insider when we return on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Jan here. Spring is in the air. Time to get back outside with a new Toyota.
Go from dreaming it to driving it. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends March 31st. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Jan here. Spring is in the air. Time to get back outside with a new Toyota.
Go from dreaming it to driving it. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends March 31st. Toyota, let's go places.
More Duck Insider from the Country Financial Studios after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds.
Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna kick my heels up and throw my hands up and throw my head back and come on now, don't forget to say you will.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Oregon versus Ohio State in Lacrosse tonight at 5 o'clock at Pape Field. It will be a double game day over on this side of the river, over by the Autzen Complex over there, as Oregon baseball will play their second game of the series against Grand Canyon coming up at 4:05. First pitch slated to start against GCU today. I'll have pregame starting at 3:45 on the Oregon Sports Network. And yesterday it wasn't the game that Oregon was looking for. The Ducks had won 11 straight coming into this contest against GCU on a Tuesday. The Ducks ended up dropping last night's game by a score of 4-2. And really for Oregon, it was just some errors late, both mentally and actually on the stat sheet late for the Ducks. Ian Umlaut gave Oregon a really strong start. He threw 6 scoreless innings, came out for the 7th, allowed a home run, allowed a double. It allowed for Grand Canyon to gain some momentum. The Ducks had to use 3 pitchers in the 7th inning. 3 runs came in for Grand Canyon. Oregon was up 1-0 at that point because on the very first pitch of the game that Oregon saw, Mason Neville hit a home run over the fence. However, Oregon's bats went cold from the first inning all the way, well, really throughout the rest of the game. And Oregon had offensive opportunities. The Ducks stranded multiple runners on the base paths in the 2nd inning, the 3rd inning, the 5th inning, the 7th inning, and the 8th inning. It was just situational hitting for Oregon. It didn't step up at the right time for the Ducks. And an error here, a base running error there, really made a big difference in the ball game. The little details for Oregon, something that the Ducks have really excelled in throughout the Coach Wazakowski era. They weren't right last night, and I think Waz would tell you that. He will tell you that. We got Coach Wazakowski breaking down the loss for Oregon after their winning streak got snapped last night against Grand Canyon. Waz resetting, coming into now a ball game today, but not pleased with the effort for Oregon baseball in a 4-2 loss last night against Grand Canyon.
Winning streak snapped. Just what did GCU do to kind of neutralize your bats today? Left 11 runners on base.
Yeah, we didn't get the hit with 2 outs. You know, we'd been through the stretch that we've been winning here. We've been getting that hit, and we didn't get that hit today.
Can you run me through the Ian decision to bring him back out? 86 pitches, kind of struggling there in the 6th inning. Just what went into bringing him back up, especially going against a righty?
He'd given up 0 runs, you know.
Mm-hmm. Is he in one of
He was throwing a shutout, and his pitch count was low. That's why we sent him back out there on the mound. Yeah.
Is he one of those guys in the dugout that's typically advocating for himself to get another inning?
Usually when a pitcher's pitch count is well under 100 pitches and he's throwing a shutout, usually you don't take that guy out, yeah.
You didn't see any signs of kind of faltering with him there in the 6th?
He's throwing a shutout, and his pitch count is well under 100 pitches. So, yeah, no, I think that would kind of be disrespectful to the pitcher when he's throwing a shutout and you take him out when his pitch count's low of a game that he hasn't given up a run. I think that would probably be the wrong decision.
And then sending Garrotti on that single, I know you guys like to be aggressive on the base pass there. Is that just one of those where you're trying to see if that guy can make a play in the outfield?
No, I think that was probably a mistake. You know, I think that was probably a mistake, and everybody knew that, and even Coach Hinkle probably even knew that. And, you know, I mean, I've been over there many times and made a mistake like that, and, you know, he even told the team so much. But, no, I mean, can't fault him. He's a heck of a coach, and he made one mistake today, and, you know, at that time it was expensive. The bottom line is we still, you know, even with that, we could have still easily won the game.
Adding on to Carter, he still had quite a game today. What did you think of his work on the field?
You know, it was good. You know, I thought he had 2 at-bats early in the game where he kind of got outside of himself, and his swing was pretty big. When we needed him at the end, I mean, I thought he made a really great play. on Patton, when Stokes came into the game, he made a nice play to the backhand side on Patton when Stokes did a nice job after he got York to strike out. And then he obviously had the double that unfortunately it bounced over the wall for it to be only worth one run on the RBI, only one RBI instead of two. That would have easily scored the runner from first base. But he's a really good player, and it's fun watching him play.
On the more positive side, 6 really good innings from Ian. What does he bring that makes him such a solid midweek starter option?
Well, I mean, he usually doesn't beat himself, right? I mean, you usually got to get to him to beat him, and it's for a midweek starter or any starter at all to go out there and basically give up 1 run or no runs or 2 runs on an entire start, that's a good start. And he gives us that pretty much every time he's gone out there. I think he's pretty much done that. He's very valuable.
Maddox's pickoff, just what happened there?
My fault. I'll just say that was my fault.
Just, I don't know, an error from your perspective, like from your side, just like kind of what happened there?
I'll just say that I threw the ball away and it was my fault.
Okay. We saw Chase get an at-bat there in the 9th. Just how is he progressing? Obviously good enough to go out and hit. Just what's it going to be like to have him?
Looks like he should be. He's progressing well, obviously. And, if we didn't think that he was going to be able to give us a great at-bat, then we would have not, pinch hit him. You're looking for a left-handed bat off of that arm slot, sidearm type guy. And Chase is now back in the fold, which is really nice.
So Parker as well, grab a bat there towards the end of that 8th inning when Mason was up. Is that another guy who's progressing well and could be back soon?
Time will tell. We'll see. We don't talk about injuries.
Sweep on the road and then a loss at home. What are your expectations moving forward?
To play well tomorrow.
Is there any sort of issue with fatigue maybe coming off the first road trip of the year? Or?
No, I just don't think I coached very well today.
We talked about the timely 2-out hitting. The team's still strung together, a lot of good hits, a lot of good at-bats. What are you saying to them in the dugout to kind of keep the energy high even when those 2-out hits aren't falling?
Well, I don't think it was a lack of energy. They were trying. It's just sometimes you don't get to hit, And, some of the at-bats, I thought some of the swings were a little bigger than we needed. We need a little bit shorter contact type swing instead of more of a home run type of an approach, and we discussed that a little bit after the game. But, these guys have been going good now for quite a while, and I love suiting up with them. I need to coach better.
Even on a day where Burke doesn't start, he's down there during pre-games, dancing around, singing, having fun with his guys. How important is just an energy like that to have in the dugout?
Well, I mean, the guys like to be around each other. Burke's a freshman that's a really talented freshman. I mean, we've got several really good freshmen, and it's fun being around Burke. He's got a huge future in front of him.
Jeff got on base 4 times today. I know 2 of them were hit by pitches, but what would you like from his discipline today?
Team baseball, right? I mean, team baseball. I think he put a drag bunt down. I mean, he's always on base. He's a guy that, at the beginning of the game, we don't forget about the ball that was in the corner, and he had an assist on the guy trying to stretch the single into a double, and the ball hits the wall, and he throws him out at second base. Tremendous defensive play. He's a great kid, and he's a leader on the team. Good energy guy, and a really tough at bat, and he's showing that. He just does it in different ways.
The mindset kind of all hands on deck, pitching wise for tomorrow.
Oh, it always is on midweek games. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you guys try to bounce back then?
What's that?
How do you guys try to bounce back after this?
Play good baseball. Yeah.
Got to play good baseball. Oregon didn't execute the way they wanted to yesterday. Opportunity again today to even up the series against Grand Canyon. Getting to our final timeout. When we come back, a big weekend for a whole bunch of different teams around the university. Getting to it when we return on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
Heather and I had an argument just like any other couple. I was lost. I had snapped. I had a gun and I was going to take my own life. Heather helped me realize that there was still a life to live for the better of myself, my family. My weapon is now safely put away.
A moment of crisis can happen to anyone. Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano with you, closing up Duck Insider here on a Wednesday. On the course, starting on Sunday, going Monday and Tuesday, Oregon men's golf had a really strong effort, closing up a championship at the Bandon Dunes Championship. Oregon men's golf, the team champions, against a West Coast field in Bandon, Oregon. The Ducks finished the tournament 4 over, 21 strokes up of second place Boise State and Utah Valley, both tied for second at 25 over par at the Bandon Dunes Championship. Oregon, after a 7 over round 1, went 5 over in round 2 and then 8 under in round 3. Had 2 different Ducks that finished inside of the top 5 in individual scoring. Grayson Leach put together a 1 under final round for a 4 under tournament for him as he finished in second place overall. And Aiden Kraft had one of the better individual rounds of the week, where he came in to yesterday's round and was well back. He was sitting in 12th place going into yesterday's round, ended up putting together a 6 under performance. On the second hole, he double bogeyed, and then after that double bogey on hole number 2, he finished 8 under for the rest of the round. He finished 6 under combined for the round and finished at 1 under for the tournament to finish 4th overall. The Ducks take home another victory on the men's golf side of things as they are able to win in the state of Oregon and take home the Bandon Dunes Championship. It's a big day around the University of Oregon. 2 games in action tonight, as well as Oregon men's basketball getting in action tomorrow morning. So the way that it will schedule out here on the Oregon Sports Network, today I will be at PK Park at 3:45 for a 4 o'clock tip-out, or 4 o'clock first pitch against Grand Canyon. 5 o'clock, not on the Oregon Sports Network, on Big Ten Plus. Oregon Lacrosse will start off their Big Ten season against Ohio State. And then tomorrow morning, starting at 8:30 a.m. pregame show, 9 o'clock tip-off, Oregon men's basketball against Indiana. We'll break down all of it on the show here tomorrow. Going to be a packed show coming up tomorrow on Duck Insider. Let's root on the Ducks, everybody. Goodbye.
You say you'd never give in to a meltdown and never fill your feed with kid photos. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it and never let them run wild through the grocery store. So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, know it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happened